Apple's a polarizing company anyway, but very few products are as polarizing as their new line of MacBook Pros with the Touch Bar. I was excited to test it, excited to put it through its paces and see if it could perform for me as a daily driver. I've been really impressed with what Windows is doing, so I approached this as someone who is looking for a new computer, which is exactly what I am. So I figured the best way to test this is to test like I do a phone, to use it as my everyday computer. It was my only computer at the office and my only computer at home for the better part of 7 days. So I got a chance to really know how it worked, how it performed, while docked at the office and used it only as a laptop at home. Two different versions of the 15-inch MacBook Pro. Brandon, who did the full written review, tested the base 2400. I tested a built-order machine. The processor is a 2.7 GHz quad-core i7. I didn't up the processor to the available 2.9 GHz quad-core i7. I did up the hard drive, it's a 1TB SSD, and upgraded the GPU to the Radeon 460 with 4 gigs of RAM. If you want to see how both computers perform, then be sure to check out Brandon's written review to see how he did on his daily usage of the computer. The design of the computer is gorgeous. It's machined, it's aluminum, and it looks stunning. I really like the hinge. I like you could open it with one finger. I really appreciate that Apple removed the plastic antenna band from the back of the MacBook Pros. It's now a single hinge, similar to what we have with the MacBook. I haven't used a 15-inch laptop in a while, so I forgot how big it is, but if you use a 15-inch, it's gonna fit nicely in your bag. The screen is still the same, 15.4-inch display that we've had before, and the resolution hasn't changed either. It's still 2880 by 1800, but the panel itself is very different, and it's noticeable. Apple claims it's 67% brighter, and I can't quantify the percentage, but it does look noticeably sharper and brighter than the outgoing 15-inch. It's also way less reflective than before, meaning you could work outdoors without having to worry about angling it properly to be able to see your screen. In fact, I did work outdoors and I appreciated the anti-glare that Apple's added. Keyboard's different here too. It uses the 2nd-gen butterfly switches found in the 12-inch MacBook, and I really liked them. It does take some getting used to though. If you're used to the older version, you gotta give it at least like 4 to 5 days to be comfortable. After that though, you won't notice much of a difference. I know this is a personal thing here, but I kept hitting the caps lock key most of the time when I wanted to hit the A key. So bear that in mind. Moral though, if you're worried about the keyboard, don't be. The Force Touch trackpad here, it looks like it took some serious HGH. It is huge. It's almost close to the same size as the Magic Trackpad accessory Apple is happy to sell you. It's the same functionality as before, it's just huger. This has really good palm injection because your hands are gonna have to rest on it while you're typing. I didn't have any sort of jumps or jitters with it at all. It works well, it's just gigantic. Which brings us to the biggest change this generation, the Touch Bar, that morphing OLED strip sitting where the function keys used to be. In all honesty, I was kind of ambivalent to meh when I first started testing the computer, but the more I used the laptop, the more potential actually I saw in the Touch Bar. First note, there isn't any sort of haptic feedback. I was kind of expecting that. It's not here. But you can customize what it can do and what it shows. And if you guys want to see some customization options, let us know down below. I'll make a dedicated video showing that. I absolutely loved using it as a media scrubber when watching videos or to scroll through my timeline in Final Cut. It looked really cool when a call came in too. People were kind of upset about the escape key placement. That's a big deal for coders. And the key is offset, and it is in the Touch Bar, but you can pretty much tap anywhere near it for it to work. I was also kind of originally annoyed it took extra taps to do normal things like change the volume or brightness, but if you just tap it and hold, you can scrub it with just one press. Apple clearly put a lot of thought into the Touch Bar, and I think once it matures, it's going to be incredibly useful. So I changed my initial opinion on it. It went from cool gimmick to actually being surprisingly helpful. So all that fancy screen tech and Touch Bar takes battery, and Apple claims it's 10 hours of battery life here, and I have no idea how anyone could reasonably get close to 10 hours of actual usage. From a full 100% charge with 0 apps open, I saw a projected 4 hours of battery life. Now, the longer I left it open to calibrate, the better it got. In fact, it went as high as 5 hours and 45 minutes with no apps open after calibration and brightness set to about 60%. Brandon had similar experiences with his. Your experience is gonna vary, obviously, on how you use a computer, but battery life will continue to be a concern, especially if you venture away from Safari and use Chrome or do any editing on the go. That battery, though, can be charged via any of the 4 USB-C Thunderbolt 3 slots. I like that. That was a smooth transition. The lack of I/O is going to be an issue, and you're going to have to carry adapters and dongles wherever you go if you want to do things like transfer files via an SD card, which is important for folks like me who are oftentimes editing and working on the go. And I get that Apple removes slots like that because they are, quote, ungainly, but adapters and dongles hanging out the sides are certainly ungainly as well. This is gonna be a personal preference. If you don't mind carrying adapters and dongles, you don't think you're gonna lose them, then you're gonna be fine. If you do mind that and you tend to lose cables and you forget to bring things with you, you might find this computer not useful if you forget your SD card adapter, for example, while shooting footage on the go. I get a lot of questions on the speakers, and these were definitely louder than before. Apple claims they're 58% more volume and 2.5% more bass. I don't know how to test that, but they are super loud and don't sound very tinny. On the processor side, I would have absolutely preferred Intel 7th Gen Kaby Lake. Instead, we have Intel's 6th Gen Skylake chips, but they aren't any slouch and they're still plenty fast. The custom machine pulled in really solid Geekbench scores, which are only slightly higher than the entry level that Brandon tested. Benchmarks don't mean that much to me though, performance does. My usage in the real world is what matters to me. The machine is a beast. Even when docked to a 4K display and a Thunderbolt display plugged into it, I never felt it struggle to keep up, and for that matter, I even rarely heard the fans. We're gonna do separate videos on editing and gaming, but not surprisingly, it flew through Final Cut. But it was slower than expected with Premiere Pro, which is on Adobe's end and should improve with software updates. Light games like StarCraft are perfect on the 4K display. I was able to easily get them at 1080p at 50 frames per second. I could probably go even higher. But again, we'll do separate dedicated videos on gaming and editing. If you want to see anything particular in those videos and see tests, let us know down below. I'll make sure we include them in those videos. I was also pleasantly surprised how fast the PCIe SSD is in the machine, which is going to be a huge benefit when it comes to video editing. So, conclusion on the MacBook Pro. It's a beast of a machine, but it's expensive, starting at $2,400. If you're not tied into Apple's ecosystem, you can get a lot more bang for your buck in the PC world. But that's nothing new here. That's always been the case with Apple's machines. If you are in Apple's ecosystem, you want to stay in Apple's ecosystem, you don't have much of a choice for a Pro machine than the MacBook Pro. Now be aware though, you're gonna have to pay extra money for dongles and you're gonna have to make sure you carry them with you. But if you can get past the dongles and you can see the future, it's going to be USB-C, Thunderbolt 3, then you're buying into the future with this computer. You're buying to the future of one cable to rule them all, and we're just not there yet. But am I gonna continue using this, my everyday computer? I don't know yet. I wish battery life was better, wish I didn't have to carry dongles with me. On the other hand, performance has been absolutely incredible, and I feel like it can handle anything I throw at it. So I can't necessarily say this is for everyone, but I can't say it's not for anyone either. You gotta figure out if you wanna spend the money and if you want the features. If you do, it's a great computer, but definitely know what you're getting into with 2016 MacBook Pros. So what do you guys think? Did you buy one? Are you skipping it? Leave us in the comments down below. Please give the video a thumbs up. We worked real hard on this video. Until next time, I'm John Ranger from Techno Buffalo. Talk to you guys in the next one.